Hi everyone, it's Becky here. Welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel. Continuing on my Vancouver Island trip. On the second day in the afternoon, here I am at Little Qualicum Farm. So we're here to get some fresh milk from the cows. Here we are, just opening the machine and putting our milk jug underneath, putting the coin in, and Dudu is enjoying the milk. The milk is Dudu approved. Yay! And now I'm sitting at the picnic area, get ready to sketch the farmland view in front of me. I love the beautiful clouds unfolding in the sky there. So here I am actually showing you how much penciling work you actually need when you're sketching on location. You don't have to be too specific. Here I'm just laying down the horizon line and the mountains above the foreground elements, and I'm ready to just draw very spontaneously without too much hesitation and self-judgment. Okay, so now I am adding the first cow grazing in the middle right here and focusing on the large body and the small neck and the head and the hoofs. So the legs or the hoofs are actually pretty thin. There we go. And adding the ear, which is an essential part for a cow, and the eye, the tail, and don't forget the black patches on the back, which is very common for milk cows. Yeah, so I found it easier to sketch black and white cows compared to white or yellow or brown cows. Yeah, and so much fun drawing and coloring in these black patches with solid black ink. Alright, so that's the first cow there, adding a bit of accentuation in between the legs there. Alright, and now I am ready to move on to drawing a couple more cows. I am just waiting for a few more seconds for this yellow cow to move closer to create a kind of overlapping behind the first cow. Okay, again focusing on the contour outline of the back, which is a really nice organic curve. And she walked away too quickly, so I'm going to wait for another cow to walk over here and sketch her instead. So all of these cows look very similar, very much the same body sizes and shapes. So now I'm going to the background area to draw the contour outline of the mountains and the forest underneath. So when I'm drawing organic outlines like the forest and mountains, I spend most of my time actually looking at the view in front of me and not checking my paper too much for judgments, and also slowing down the process. So just kind of like use an almost blind contour technique to draw these details. And then these two buddy trees, kind of like shaking hands or holding hands with each other over here, focusing on the two trunks, and then quickly summarize the foliage, the branches of those two trees. Now moving on to the left side to add some middle ground element, the contour outline of more evergreen trees here in the middle ground, which is pretty abstract, really trusting what I see. Now I am seeing the bottom of the forest, which is a pretty straight horizontal line, and a little farmhouse in the far distance. Actually a couple over there, yeah, in very long rectangular prism shape, and just continuing this horizontal line and adding more foliage in front of it. Now I'm adding these short vertical bars of the fence in the far distance. And now I am drawing another barn. There's a very typical outline of a barn, and more farmhouses and piles of hay or other stuff beside it. Accentuate the outlines of these barns a little bit more so they stand out better with thicker lines. And then a bit of details around the grassland over there. Now adding some texture for the forest, extending some wriggly lines from the peaks of the forest contour outline, and keep it really simple and quick. There we go, and now I think I captured the essence of the forest. And now coming back, there's another cow walking closer to me, so just drawing the neck and the legs kind of overlapping with that cow a little bit, the face, the eye, and the front legs. The bodies of these cows are actually very, very large compared to the head. And the legs are pretty thin. Yeah, adding a bit of hatching on their bellies. Now I am drawing some more vertical bars of fence poles here in the middle ground. They're looking taller and wider apart because they're closer to us, the viewers. And then drawing this little shed. I think it's a little house for the goats or the sheeps. And then the grass on the bottom of this little house. As you can see, this little house is in the shape of a cube that we can see two sides of it, and adding some quick vertical lines for the bars of the wooden planks. And adding some more grass for the right side of the little house here. Now I see another cow getting closer here on the right side. And I like to visualize with hand gestures first before really putting the ink line here on paper. It's okay to hesitate a little bit for a bit of visualization on the white space. And just be bold and brave and be confident. There are already 2 cows finished, so I know how big I should be drawing. The simple contour outline followed by quick observation and the black patches. The head, here I could cheat a little bit with the black patch covering the head. And then more grass around the hoofs. Yeah, adding some more grass for these cows so they're not really floating in the air. So this is how I draw grass blades, is to start from the bottom and swipe up very quickly in these short strokes. So these grass actually very short. For longer grass blades, you can just swipe a little bit higher and curve it a little bit for more organic looks of grass. And some more here on the bottom left side. Again, you don't have to draw every single blade of grass that's out there. So just draw a little bit to get the essence, and then you can stop. And it feels really satisfying to fill in the blank space over here on the bottom with these grass blades, and also drawing loose horizontal lines underneath the hoofs of those 2 cows, so they're really standing here on the ground. So now just adding some final polish, such as shading the left side of this barn house a little bit to give it a bit more 3-dimensionality. And adding another pile of bushes underneath these 2 buddy trees very loosely. And some final bit of accentuation for the piles of hay over there in the distance, and also on the bottom of the forest. Now I'm ready to draw the clusters of clouds, which look so exciting. So this drawing process right now is in real-time speed. All right, so just starting with these 2 small and large clouds side by side. So when you're drawing clouds, you have to use a very gentle hand pressure. If your lines are too heavy, the cloud is gonna look, coming forward and compete with the landscape details underneath. So my hand pressure is super gentle, and my movement is pretty quick at the same time, because the faster you draw, the more organic and looser your line's gonna look like. At the same time, you have no time for self-judgment or criticism. So just keep going. Draw one piece of cloud after another, connecting one piece after another. All right, just keep the puzzle pieces connected and keep your creative energy going. Yeah, so I feel very energized and expressive drawing faster, capturing the spirit of these clouds. Even though the clouds are not looking exactly the same as in reality, they're moving like every minute. So it's very hard to capture it exactly the same. The point is to capture the energy, the flow, the movement of these air turbulence. All right, so that's it for the line work. It took me about 15 minutes to draw. And now it's time to add even more life to this sketch by painting watercolors on top. So now I'm using my large tip Holbein Water Brush just to wet the sky area. When I'm painting a landscape, I always like to start painting the sky area first because it's just easier. So yep, so it's just very much like wet onto wet. This is pure cerulean blue, spreading out on over the sky area very smoothly because I wetted the negative space around the clouds was clear water, blending on a little bit of green because it's in the afternoon and the sky is showing a little bit of green turquoise hue. And also spreading a little bit more diluted cerulean blue. As you can see, I'm always using horizontal directions when painting sky. In this way, our sky is going to be more evenly painted. At the same time, every single brushstroke could be of a slight different value or tone of that cerulean blue, just to show that there's really air flowing in the sky. So if you're trying to paint your sky with a super solid concentrated cerulean blue, it could look pretty static. So really embrace the imperfection of your brushstrokes, that every single brushstroke could be of a different value of blue to show air movement. Okay, so that's very much it for the negative space behind those clouds. Alright, so it's very important to wait for the blue sky to dry up very much completely before shading in these white puffy clouds. So while waiting for that, I just wetted the middle area with clear water and doing its first layer of colors. This is very much diluted yellow ochre. Because I pre-wetted the area with clear water, it's very easy and faster for the color to spread out. Wet onto wet, a little bit of lime green, following my observation for the shrubs and trees in the distance. And punching on a little bit of lemon yellow mixed with hooker's green for the forest, for the first layer of the forest, right there, playing around with the various ratio of hooker's green and lemon yellow. Again, as I mentioned before, every single brushstroke could be of a different kind of yellow-green. Alright, and now I think I want to blend on some more concentrated yellow ochre. So this is the same color as before, but more concentrated, which means containing less water compared to the very first layer of wash. For the middle ground, for a little bit, for the background here, for the foreground. Alright, also a little bit of lemon yellow as well, trying to be impressionistic. Adding some tiny, almost invisible brushstrokes here and there. And now switching to my medium tip water brush because the mountain there is actually a very small space. So this is very much cobalt blue with a little bit of cerulean mixed in and also pretty concentrated. As you can see, it's more concentrated compared to the sky value. And keeping the top part a little heavier compared to the bottom. Again, there's air flowing around the mountain as well, so the mountain shouldn't be a super solid blue. Adding an even more heavier cobalt blue for the very top of the mountain's contour outline. As you can see, I am pushing for even more contrast for the mountain's blue values. The top it should be much heavier, and to the bottom it looks a little bit foggy because of the air turbulence. And now, grabbing a little bit of hooker's green, pure hooker's green, mixed with a little bit of leftover brown there on my palette to add it for the second layer of the foliage in the middle ground. And also for the forest. Using these choppy brushstrokes of my medium tip water brush to get the texture, the relieved texture of the trees done. So I'm trying to keep every single brushstroke of a different value of that seemingly the same green. I'm trying to put a heavier weight for the top of the forest, just for a sense of more overlapping and three-dimensionality of these trees. And I have some very small little trees and bushes over here and there to paint in. Now it's time to switch back to my large tip Holbein Water Brush for some loose gray washes to shade the clouds. So I'm trying to mix some cobalt blue with a little bit of royal purple. For the bottom of the clouds, the shade color is the heaviest. So that means you have to be bold and not over dilute the bluish gray. For the middle ground and the higher part of a cloud, I'm just using the residue of that bluish gray on my brush tip to spread it around these folds on the clouds. So again, the heaviest shade should be on the bottom of these cloud clusters. So make sure you don't overpaint the top part of the clouds. I think it's really nice and important to leave the top edges of these clouds just pretty much perfectly white, adding some even more heavier blues for the bottom, so the clouds, they look even stronger and heavier. They're very, very puffy ones. Alright, so just a few more brush strokes, a bit of accentuation for the fold over there, for a bit more layering, and clarity in between these folds. Okay, there we are. And now I think the clouds are done. I'm pretty happy with them. Now it's time to add more definitions for the middle area. So I'm going to kind of clean my brush. I'm switching back to my medium tip water brush now because these shapes are pretty small. Using some burnt sienna mixed with the leftover blue. So it's a muted brown for the little house and the poles of the fence. And grabbing a little bit more burnt sienna for another layer on the old wooden house. Again, 2 layers of the different values of that same color just gives an object a much more defined feel in a simple way. Now I'm just grabbing a little bit of Hooker's green and just painting it on top, wet on dry, for these grass blades here in the foreground, using very thin brush strokes by holding my brush perpendicularly to the paper to create these thinner brush strokes. As you can see, I'm also painting from bottom to the top using a swiping gesture, holding that brush. Okay, I think now Dudu is coming over here, observing my painting process. And there is his hind leg over there. He's trying to sit down. Oh, watch out your tail, Dudu. Wow, his tail looks like a really huge brush. Okay, now he just turned over to watch me. Alright, please don't lick my brush. Now I'm trying to add a shadow for this tree over here using Viridian green and a tiny bit of burnt sienna mixed together, diluted a little bit. The shadow is not super strong. Here I'm petting Dudu. He's being very nice. Yeah, so Dudu is often interested in my sketching process. As you can see, he was trying to smell my brush, and sometimes he likes to smell my picture, and he likes to smell my sketching materials. But of course, I try not to let him lick the paints. That could be poisonous. And just grabbing some diluted Hooker's green to paint more layers of grass in the middle ground. Adding some bits of shades of green by mixing burnt sienna with Hooker's green, especially for these foreground grass. They deserve more details and values of green colors. Alright, grabbing some leftover brown or burnt sienna diluted with a lot of water for these dried grass there in the distance. This summer has been pretty dry here in BC. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the final stage of my painting by using a leftover gray to paint the bottom side of this cow's belly, just so her body looks more three-dimensional. Bit of leftover brown to paint this cow's body, and a little accentuation on the bottom as a way to shade. So their bodies don't just look like cardboard cutouts. They need more shade on the bottom part. Right, just shade the belly of this cow very gently. Just slight bit of leftover yellow because the white is also reflecting the warm sunshine. So nothing in the world is perfectly white of the paper during daylight. I can always see the warm, mellow yellow of the sunshine reflecting onto the white surfaces of things, and then using more concentrated Hooker's green to paint the foliage of these 2 buddy trees. And that's very much it for this vlog and tutorial video. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. I still have about 8 videos of my Vancouver Island trip to edit and upload to share with you all. So stay tuned for the next video. It's gonna be my evening time at Neck Point Park and wrapping up my first round of day trips on Vancouver Island. So the first round of day trips on Vancouver Island this summer, I just spent 2 full days, but I created many sketches from those totem poles to this last one. Alright, so have a great day, everyone. See you soon. Bye.